Ladies and gents, I got my, I would say, legendary client here, Lester, right? He's been with me for almost 2 years, and he's jumping on. He's going to share his experience, share not just the results he's had, but the wins, lessons, mistakes, and just some deeper insights into what it takes to really create a healthy lifestyle. But tell the audience where you're at, my man, where you're at in the world, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me on. I'm actually
Pleasure.
located in Wisconsin, U.S., north of Chicago, probably about 4 hours.
Nice. And that's out in the sticks, as we say in the UK, right?
Yeah.
Because most of my audience are in the US, so they're probably thinking, I ain't never been there.
Yeah, I live in a rural area, somewhat rural area. I'm like
Nice.
45, no, I'm like maybe an hour north of our capital city, hour and a half north of our capital city, Madison. So,
Nice. And you like hunting, don't you? You hunt elk. Yeah, you do all
yep,
the
yep,
all the stuff in nature, don't you? Fishing you enjoy as well, right? Tell us a bit more about that,
yep,
man. How long have you been hunting for? And because I look at your food, right? I look at your food diet, and I'm like, man, I'd love to be
yeah.
hunting my own elk. You know what I'm saying? There ain't no elk in Australia, boy.
Yeah, I have been hunting. I guess my dad took me hunting the first time when I was like 13 years old, maybe 14. I think you can legally get your license at around that age in Wisconsin. So yeah, he took me hunting and I shot my first deer. He taught me how to clean it and field dress it. And then we always worked up our own deer at home. And so I've been doing that ever since. And then a good friend of mine and we go to Montana or Colorado every year elk hunting, and we've managed to harvest a few of them. And then I also harvest a couple of whitetail every year, and that's where I get all my lean protein from.
Mm. I want to get into that, man. I want to get into that.
Yeah.
Lean protein, man. That's the ticket for most people. You know what I mean? It's
Yep.
very simple.
Yep.
So, yeah, man, tell us a bit more. So, obviously, it's almost 2 years now. We've been working together, right? So, tell
Yes.
us a bit more about where you were at, because I remember vividly the voice notes we were sending back and forth, and you were like, "Look, man, my struggle is very much the consistency when I travel, or
Right.
when it gets to the weekends with alcohol. I'll kind of take a step forward, then a step back." I know that was a challenge of yours, right? It was almost kind of all or nothing, and keeping that consistency for longer periods of time, right?
Yes. Yeah, I think it be 2 years ago in like October, when I got on the program. And one of the things I had done is I had followed people like Thomas DeLauer and different people and just kind of searched the web and tried to figure this out. I was hitting around 30, 32 at the time, and I maybe it was 34. I was getting a little chunky, so I decided it's time to get in shape. And so basically I just, did it on my own. I ran across your podcast. I started listening to your podcast, and I really like your guests that you had on. And then you hit me up. I think I started following you on Insta and our IG, and then we had a long conversation, and yeah, it ended up being a really good decision because you helped me a lot with the consistency and just getting down the right program, the workouts, and then holding me accountable for not missing on, I guess the macros, the way that you set my macros up, that was something I had no knowledge in. I did kind of keep track of my food before the program, but I really didn't to the degree that I do now or that I have in the past. And so it taught me a lot about just how many calories are in everything, what kind of calories, and back to the lean protein thing, like even just something as simple as hamburger, like choosing the wrong kind of hamburger has a lot more calories than choosing like a pound of lean hamburger. So
100%, man. And carnivore, right? You were eating
yes,
carnivore. Tell us a bit
mostly.
more about the pros and cons that you got from eating carnivore, because you were eating carnivore-ish when you reached out, right? And you actually found me through one of those podcasts, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I think I was listening to somebody that you had on, that was a carnivore doc, and maybe I forget their name, but anyway, that's how I found you. And I was doing carnivore. I actually like eating carnivore. I could eat carnivore just all the time, with like a little bit of like honey, kind of how your friend, the guy from what's his name? Anyway,
Saladino?
yeah, Saladino. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
kind
yeah.
of had follow him as well, kind
Yep.
of doing his thing with like the honey and then some berries and whatnot. Um, but I found myself, I couldn't really like stick to it. I travel a lot for my work, and then I would go to family events or on the weekend. I found it difficult to stay 100% carnivore, and so my results were a little bit mixed. And then when I got my blood work done, of course, my cholesterol was high, and the nurse that took my blood work, she was a little worried about that. And then I had a discussion with you about it. So I actually I liked eating the carnivore, but the last maybe 6 months now, I kind of went off of carnivore, and we just did more of a balanced diet where we incorporate some more carbs and
100%, man. And that's, you hit the nail on the head as well with taking more of a balanced approach and actually getting the awareness of macros and calories is important because I see that a lot with people eating carnivore. They don't actually realize why they're stuck is a lot of the fats that they add without realizing it, which we'll get to, right? So
yeah,
that's been a challenge for us, right? Keeping those fats down, man. That is not easy.
yeah,
But I wanted to talk more on the struggles in terms of where you were at with the weekends and stuff like that, right? Because essentially, without realizing, you were being a little bit over restricted with diet as well. And that's kind of a subtle thing, even though you were eating carnivore and it felt easy doing it. When you get to the weekends, you were likely probably in a bit of a deficit in the week sometimes.
right.
And you would get to the weekends and when you're traveling because you didn't have a plan and you didn't have it's the mindset that you've developed as well, which again, I want to touch on because it's the sabotage, right? It's like gets to a weekend, you might be traveling with work, you might have a bad meal, a few drinks, and then you're like, just get back to it Monday, right? That mindset
Yep.
of, oh man, this is a write off. I'll get back to the carnivore Monday, right? And that's kind of a vicious cycle. A lot of people find themselves in. So talk us through a bit more the struggle, maybe mentally, mindset wise, with those behaviors in terms of weekends and travel. What were the main challenges? Was it like, for example, you mentioned social events. It could even be vacations, right? Or maybe whether it's
Yeah.
client meetings. Talk me through where you were at then a bit more.
Where I was then, or where I'm at
Oh,
now.
where you're at then. Let's go back to like, I don't know. Let's just get back into like your
Oh, I
worst. Where
was,
you're at your worst.
yeah, yeah. When I was at my worst, oh, I don't even know if I want to go there, but yeah, I mean, I would before I
Share what you feel
joined.
comfortable sharing, my man. But that's the stuff
No,
that
no, no, no. It was
that
just,
that helps people.
in my 20s and my early 30s, I basically I just didn't have the awareness. So on the weekends, it was just a heyday. I live in Wisconsin, which drinks. I mean, we're the number one alcoholic state in the U.S. So
Really?
oh yeah, by far.
Wow.
And
You've
so
done well then,
there's,
mate. Proud of
oh
you. Even more proud of you now.
yeah. So you can go and look up the drunkest cities in the U.S. and like the top 20, like 15 of them are in Wisconsin. So anyway, so there's like every event, people will have a reason, they'll have something going on. There's always alcohol involved. So I grew up, my teenage years and my 20s were always partying, but I just didn't see the results that I wanted to see. So yeah, I think I kind of had it dialed back to where I was mostly just drinking on the weekends, and then after joining your program, we do. I mean, I still do drink some alcohol. Sometimes I have a couple extra, but I try not to go on those binge, because it just wrecks you the next day, and just really throws you off. You can tell, like I can tell, if I drink on a Saturday, on Sunday and Monday, usually I'm affected. So
Yeah, 100%, man. And let's touch on that, right? Because a lot of people, unfortunately, particularly men, I guess women, a lot of women tend to have babies or whatever, and whatever. But with men, it doesn't seem like they change their ways unless they have a real. I mean, some do. Don't get me wrong, like us,
yeah,
and there's a minority that do. But other men, it seems that they need like a massive. Unfortunately, right? They need a massive
yeah,
wake up call or some bad shit to go down before they
yeah,
start changing. And even then, they don't make the necessary changes, right? So I was there as well. I talk about this a lot in my 20s, destructive behaviors, absolute party animal. I was world's worst in a nutshell, right? When it comes to, partying and stuff. I was never addicted to anything like that, like alcohol or other stuff, fortunately.
right.
But it could easily have went down that path for me in particular. And then, I started bodybuilding in my late 20s and I had, then I kind of turned to food more then, right? I had more kind of,
Right.
issues with binge eating and stuff like that, but overcame all that by the age of about 28, luckily, and then started really changing my ways. But it's tough to get out of that phase, right? And you mentioned about environment then, Lester, right? And that's the biggest challenge for
Right.
most people, particularly for you, man. I didn't realize that it was the alcoholic state of US.
Right.
That's saying something, right? In the US, you know
Right.
what I'm saying? Bloody
Yeah,
hell.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's lots of other states where you can't buy alcohol and gas stations. Here it's available at every convenience store, every gas station, every grocery store. But anyway, so yeah, it
But
does
yeah,
make a big difference
wait,
in talking about
yeah,
environment. having friends that don't drink makes it so much easier. And I've
Mm.
since have some friends now that I hang around with that don't drink as much, and it just makes the weekends much easier. And we talk about business and other things rather than where's the next party. So
Mm. Yeah, great, man. That's awesome. But that's hard, though, right? That's really hard, and a lot of people get stuck there, unfortunately, for their whole life, where they, if you're hanging around people that drink a lot, you're going to drink more. It's very simple, right?
yeah,
It's much
absolutely.
easier to avoid temptation than it is to have to resist it all the time. People think they can rely on willpower. You can't. The end. It's gonna let you down at some
Yep.
point, right? So talk us through that. Let's go back a little bit there before we transition into where you're at now. How did you break free of that, though, man? And you never fully break free, right? Because you still have
Right.
friends that might drink more and stuff, but you have to pick your battles more, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and then just deciding that maybe I'll have a beer or two, but not 10 or 15.
Mm.
On the evening. So, uh, where did I? Okay, can you rephrase the question again?
Yeah, yeah. No, how did you manage to kind of break free? And because a lot of people get sucked into hanging around with certain people and they find it hard to let go. You know what I mean?
Yes, I guess I was sick of like just my results. I needed to change something, and all the videos that I watched, everybody always harped on you got to get rid of the alcohol, got to get rid of the alcohol because it causes so much inflammation in the body. So it's just watching that. Even the carnivore docs, they were not a fan of it. A lot of those people didn't drink. A lot of people that I admired didn't drink. You talking, people like Alex Hormoz or those caliber of people that I followed even online. Maybe I wasn't friends with them, and then becoming friends with you and other similar people in my friends group, in my business group. It's more and more. You see more people nowadays. I meet them in the business world, and they don't drink, and it's kind of
Yep.
refreshing. It's actually becoming the new trend to not drink,
100%.
which I like. So,
Same.
and I always encourage those people like, hey, that's awesome. You should stick to it. Like, and I think I had a particularly bad weekend and I picked up a book called Alcohol Lied to You or something. And I
Okay.
read the book. Yeah, I read the book and it was like, holy crap, I got to change something. And so that actually helped me a lot. Like it actually, I think I quit drinking for a couple of months and just kind of reset. And yeah, that's kind of how I got here.
Awesome, man. Yeah, makes sense. So when you joined, right, joined the program, fast forward, let's say the first, 3 to 6 months. Let's start with like 90 days, the first initial 90 days.
Yep.
Talk us through like what you kind of learned and the results you had, any kind of wins or lessons that came to mind, for that first 3 months or 6 months or whatever kind of comes to mind.
Yeah, so the first thing that came to mind is I thought you were crazy that you were going to increase my calories and I was going to lose weight.
That's a really good point. I'm glad you're going there.
I
You're like, what? Hang on a minute. I'm carrying too much body fat, and you increase. This makes no sense.
Yeah, so that was my first experience. Now I was committed to the program, so I decided it doesn't matter if you tell me how many calories I got to eat, I'm eating them. So you gave me the macros. I started following the diet, the plan, and working out. And I think our plan was, if I remember right, was increase calories and build muscle. That was how we were going to do it. And then the other thing I remember, I was doing a lot of cardio at the time. I was running some half marathons, doing a lot of trail running, and I still wasn't losing the weight. I mean, I didn't mind the running, but it always makes you feel good. You get that runner's high. It's kind of addicting. But you actually had told me at the time to cut the cardio out for now and just let's focus on lifting and let's focus on getting your form dialed in and getting you on track with the program. And so I think we went up because before the program, I had initially lost some weight by just going into a calorie deficit. I figured I know how to lose weight. I'll just put myself in a deficit. I'll eat 1,800 calories a day and I will lose weight. And I did. But I also lost a lot of muscle.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, yeah, so that was my plan before, I got on the program. So then you had bumped me up. I think we slowly increased calories for like 6 months. Like I think we went from like around 2,300 calories to all the way to almost 3,000 calories. And during that phase, I actually increased my calories and dropped body fat. And I thought that was kind of mind blowing to me. So,
I'm glad you went there because I talk about this all the time like a broken record, but reverse dieting is essentially what Lester's talking about.
yep.
And that does happen with a lot of people. It depends on how much of a reservoir of fat you've got to lose. But obviously, in your case, you didn't have a great deal to lose. You had a little bit of stubborn
No.
fat to lose.
Yeah.
That came off as the metabolism started speeding up, and you change the signal. So going back to what you were saying, you got to think about taking the smart approach, right? It's what signal am I sending to the body? You want to be sending a signal of strength, and your body then, to get stronger, needs to naturally send a muscle building signal to essentially protect you from that insult in the gym, right? When you're lifting weights.
Right.
And then what happens then is the metabolism speeds up. It's anabolic, which sends a signal then, because, muscle tissue is really expensive, right? It's expensive tissue. So it costs your body a lot of calories, right? To keep it on your body. So that's what Les is alluding to now. And we did that reverse dieting process for a good while, right? It was a good kind of 6 to 9 months really in total, wasn't it?
I agree. Yeah. Yeah. We stuck with it for quite a while.
Yep. And your calories went up, and obviously you lost body fat as well, and you built a significant amount of muscle. In fact, you built a lot of muscle, man.
Right.
And
I did.
That's from the work you put in, firstly. But two, you've definitely got good muscle building genetics, man, for sure.
Yes. Yeah. And we confirmed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We confirmed it with the DEXA scan. So
100%. Yeah, definitely, man. So with that process, I want you to talk now. I'd be interested to hear how you felt mentally, right? Because it can be a challenge when because you're completely changing your mindset, right? We don't want to skim over this. You literally, okay, I'm putting full trust into the program, like you said, and I'm going all in, but I've got to increase. It feels like I'm eating more. Am I going to, because you get that battle, that little kind of inner critic, right? Okay, you're going to get fat, you're going to gain body fat, but ultimately when you do it the smart way, you don't. And at the same time, you're cutting back on cardio, right? So then you're thinking, wow, I'm actually doing less output as well, but the output it's the afterburn from lifting weights, right? Your metabolism's elevated afterwards. Right. It was a smarter way. Your body's automatically burning more calories, right? So yeah, throughout that process, what was going on mentally? Was there any things in your mind where you're thinking, oh man, or was anything going on there along the process, or was it just like full trust in the process? Let's do the work, keep leveling up.
No, I full trust in the process. I decided if this doesn't work, I'll figure out a different way to lose the pounds. So I just, dedicated myself to the process, and it worked. Basically, followed the program, and I don't remember. I think I seen the last cut that we did. That was when I seen the biggest, the biggest results, and the DEXA scan when we went for the fat dropping the fat in between the scans. That was pretty amazing. So.
Awesome, man. And that's the thing. See, Lester, and this is the big thing, it's mental fortitude. That's what it comes down to. It's resilience mentally, and it takes so much patience. Let's just round it off, right? Let's round off to like 9 months to a year. We spent literally reverse dieting, building muscle, and building the fat, and along the way, right, building habits before we really accelerated fat loss and put you in a place where you can stay leaner year round, right? That's the ultimate goal, really. Drop the visceral fat, which we'll get to. But throughout that period, right, for that, I was going to get somewhere with that then, with the build and muscle part there, habits, right? So what habits would you say, whether that's sleep, nutrition, what are the main habits that you've implemented that you feel like have really kind of benefited you?
Starting with the gym, it's just a non-negotiable. I mean, I do have a crazy schedule, and some weeks I find it hard to make it to the gym 4 days a week or 3 days a week, depending on what phase we're on. But I decided when I started the program, I'm like, this has to come before work. This is, if I'm not in good health, then what's the point of everything else? So that's the mindset that I took. The gym has to come no matter what. It's 3 days a week. If I have to skip it on a Friday, then I'm doing it on Saturday, because we were at that point working 3 days a week, or working out 3 days a week with bands in between. So there's 7 days in a week. I would make it happen no matter what. So even if I was traveling, some days I would, if I had to work, do my Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I would get all 3 of them done in 1 week, and then I'd do the bands Thursday, Friday. That's not the way that you had it in the calendar, but if I had to do it to get it done, I would do it in that way. But for the most part, it was just that attitude of, just building the habit. Now I don't even think of it. It's got to be done every week. And I know you're saying that always sticks with me, never miss twice. So if you do miss one, don't miss it twice. So that always
sticks. Love it, man. And that's your commitment, right? That's your dedication and commitment, because people make excuses. And if you tell us a bit more about, obviously, what you do for work, right? And touch on that so we get more of a context there. And then, so with the strength training as well, though, right? Because that's a new habit altogether, right? Being consistent with strength training and not, again,
Yeah.
interfering with the signal with doing lots. Cardio is okay to do here and there, but
Right.
really, strength training ticks most of the boxes when it comes to longevity and health anyway.
Right.
So that's awesome. That's number one habit. So tell us what you do for work and how you juggle that, like whether that be planning ahead or just,
Yeah.
simple stuff, right? Like packing your gym kit. It's like simple
Yeah.
stuff, but you have to kind of think ahead and apply the discipline.
Yes. So this is actually partially why I ended up in the position I do. I work on the road a lot. Uh, I'm usually home at night, but I'm a claims adjuster, so I climb roofs. I do look at wind and hail, fire losses for insurance companies. So I'll have 4, 5, 6, 8 stops in a day. I leave my house in the morning, maybe it's 7, 8 a.m. I'll usually go to the gym. From the gym, I'm going to my appointments. I go around and look at people's houses when they put claims in for insurance. So throughout that day, I have a pretty full schedule. Usually, the worst of it is finding something decent to eat for lunch. And I found the best thing that works for me is to just pack a lunch and take it with me. So, and I do that with a lot of things. I use you can either I do beef jerky or I create some kind of a venison sausage. I pre-plan the macro, like I know what the macros are. I pre-package it, get it ready the night before, the morning before, and then pack it. So I don't have to think about lunch. Whenever I'm hungry, I just grab whatever I packed for the day, and that's what I eat. So
Yeah, I love it,
that's
man. And you
generally
were sharing that
yeah.
on the call the other day, right? The beef jerky. So this is what people need. See, they need people. Thing is, at the same time, you can give people discipline's always the foundation. You can give people all the snacks in the world. In fact, you don't even need me for that now. Just type it in on ChatGPT, right? That's the
Right,
reality of it. I mean,
right,
you're still going to get hit and miss answers sometimes. Let's be honest from there. But
right.
the other thing that's like, time management. People, how do I, resources I need to manage? Okay, you need to just stop and look
Yep.
ahead and keep it very, very simple. Okay, I am going to need to pack my lunch, like Lester said. Okay, venison sausages. By the way, do you make that yourself?
Yeah. Well, I have a buddy. I have a friend of mine that used to work for a big company here, and he does this on the side. So him and we get together in like December every year after we harvest our deer, and we make a big batch of it. So yeah, and we throw it in the freezer, and it's just like you cut it up, easy snacking. I also do biltong. I think yeah, you
Yeah,
had
that's what you shared the
put
other
me
day.
onto that. I love that. That is so good. I put it in 3 to 4 ounce packages. I put them in Ziploc bags, prep them all, throw them in the fridge. I buy them by a big pound, like pound, as big a bags as I can get. Split them all up, throw them in the fridge, and if I need something to go, I'll grab a bag of those, and I'll boil eggs too, and get those all ready. Sometimes I'll do that, or I'll make rice, get it ready to go that way. I mean, whatever your flavor is.
Great. So that's awesome. That's the number one thing. See, everything Les is talking about here is going back to protein, having protein available. That is
Yes,
the most important thing with everything. Like if you're working from home, great.
yes,
Have lean meat available. But most people don't have that luxury of constantly working from home. So, okay, if you go beef jerky, you mentioned boiled eggs, you mentioned venison sausages, it's thinking ahead and having those foods available. If you don't have protein available like that at a minimum, then you are going to be on the back foot. So talk us through, my man, right? So we've got the lunch. Let's just visualize now. Crazy week, right, Lester? You're traveling with work. It's chaos.
yep.
You've got your lunch with you. You probably packed your bands. Do you look at the gym in advance? Like how do you plan that? And then let's say you're going out to eat in restaurants, right? Which happens sometimes. It might
Yep.
be social stuff. Talk us through what happens when you're on the move, when it's chaotic sometimes.
Yes, if I have the bands in the schedules, the bands go in the bag. I actually have to pack somewhat of a mini. Sometimes if I'm gone all week, I have to pack somewhat of a mini office. So I pack a big bag. I'll just throw the bands in there. There's a company around here called Anytime Fitness. They're pretty big in the U.S. and they have
I know them.
locations
They have them here. Yep.
everywhere. So
Okay.
I'm part of their membership. So I can just within 10 minutes, 20 minutes, there's always an Anytime Fitness somewhere on this side of the state. So I just find Anytime Fitness, make sure my hotel room is somewhat semi close to that, or I'll incorporate it into my travels. At the end of the day or in the beginning of the day, I'll somehow hit one of those. And then as far as going out to eat, if I'm going out to eat, steak's always a great option because it's got a lot of protein. That's my go-to. I might have some sides that's not part of my normal normal routine or whatever, but steaks and maybe like sweet potato fries or something to go along with that. Like I don't mind having those carbs, and something like a ribeye or a New York strip, that's generally my go-to. And in the morning, if I'm on the road and I haven't packed, maybe I'm gone for 4 or 5 days and I run out of food that I took with me. I'll go somewhere in the morning or in the forenoon. I'll schedule in a stop and I'll just have like a New York strip and eggs, like something that's got really high protein that carries me through all the way through the end of the day.
Yeah, man. Yeah, spot on, spot on. So, okay, we mentioned the habits. So that's training. Obviously, when you're traveling on the go, planning ahead with food. And
Yep.
then any other habits. I know we're still, sleep's always a work in progress. We were just saying when we right off air, essentially just putting the phone down and going to bed, right? That's all we got to do, man. It's
Yeah.
hard though. Like I
Yeah.
still, even yesterday, my missus was like, "You're gonna screw up again," because I was on the phone a bit later than I wanted to be. I always give it a minimum of an hour, but for me,
Yep.
I know that like 75 minutes to 90 minutes, ideally 2 hours, is a game changer. And she's
It
like,
is.
"You're gonna screw up again," you know what I'm saying? Like as women like to just tell you how it is. Well, my missus anyway, which is what I like about her.
Yeah.
But it's hard, right? So talk us through that, the sleep practices, and that as a habit.
I gotta be honest, this is probably my weakest spot. I can do all the other stuff, but it seems like I struggle a lot with my sleep. And part of it is just because I'm a type A person that just has a lot of stuff that needs to get done. I run my own business, and sometimes I will get up at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning and just work all day and not go to bed until 10 or 11 at night. So it's something that I've struggled with, and thankfully you've kind of helped keep me on track. Even though this summer has been really hard, but it is just that easy. When you decide to do it, it's like, hey, it's 10 o'clock, it's time for bed, or it's 9:30. I got to go to bed in a half hour. You shut everything off. You put the phone on airplane mode, and you just do something for a half hour and just go to bed at 10, because whatever doesn't get done today can get done tomorrow.
100%. 100%. It's the
That
most important thing. It's always a work in progress, that one, isn't it?
it's a hit and miss for me. Some weeks I get it really, like I do a good job at it, and then I'll get stressed out and it slips the back of my mind and I'm like, oh crap, I gotta do this. Like we were just talking before we got on here. You get in bed and you're like, I forgot about this. You check your phone calendar, and the next thing you know, you have some notifications, and it's 30 minutes later, and you're on your phone. Even though you might have the blue blockers on or the screen on red, that's still distracting you. And so, that is one area that I strive to become better at. That's probably my weak spot.
Yeah, it is. It is for most people, man. So let's get into the nutrition stuff and the recent fat loss phase, right? So we did a DEXA
Yeah.
scan. We were like, right, we want to bring that visceral fat down. Recently, it was over like a 4 month period. So that's why, like, measuring stuff. We were doing measurements for a long time, right? Weigh in and
Yep.
stuff. And after about a year, it's like, right now we want to focus kind of more on the fat loss piece.
Yep.
And we want to be more detailed now with where you're at, because what gets measured can get managed. The good thing with the DEXA scanner, right, as you know, is it monitors visceral fat, bone density, exactly how much lean body mass you've got, and like for how much you weigh, it was insane, right? It was like 145 pounds of lean body mass.
Yep. It was
And
insane.
we set a goal, didn't we, from like, it was this year actually, from January to May, so like roughly about 4 months, or maybe a bit less than that. And we set a goal to lose zero point 0.3 pounds of visceral fat, right? Which you lost.
Right.
You dropped like 3% body fat, and you
Right.
retained all that muscle, right? So talk us
Yes.
through, because I know movement, right? We'll get into now nutrition. You mentioned about macros and the fat targets and stuff, and also movement, right? Credit to you, man. You've been moving and doing more steps than ever, really, to achieve that.
Right. Yeah, so some friends and I actually we had a goal to do 12,000 steps a day for, I want to say it was April and May, something like that, which was above our initial target. We had set for like 10,000 on those months. So that helped. And that was not running, that was just steps. That was walking mostly. I didn't do a lot of running, maybe some jogging. But yes, we lost the zero point 0.3 pounds of body fat, internal fat,
Yeah,
and
visceral
we
fat.
kept
Yep.
that visceral fat, and we kept all of the muscle, which was really surprising. And actually, that was quite. I had never watched my fats before, so that was an experience I haven't had before. Which most of the carnivore people that I'd listened to always said, "Don't worry about the fat; eat as much fat as you want." Which I get that if you're keto or if you're in ketosis, but I wasn't. So we actually cut the fat down. We gave me a fat target that I had to hit every day, which I found that was probably one of the harder things to do, because I really, really with what I was eating, I had to really be careful. I would just go over, even having a half a dozen eggs, which I can do in the morning, no problem. That will bump my fat targets. Like I'll hit them really quick if I just do that. So, and that when them with some steak or hamburger. So that was my experience. I stuck to it. I actually made it my. I mean, I missed maybe a couple of days in like a 3 month period. Otherwise, I hit my daily limit like pretty much every day. And
And that goes back to what you said, though, right, about the accountability as well, right? Because it's like this
yep,
is, this is a year and a half into the program or whatever. There's always room for improvement, and we'll talk about the next targets we've set now after this. But having that accountability, right, man, having me
yep,
watching over you, you know what I mean, doing the check-in calls, it
yep.
helps, right? Because
It
you've got
really, really
target to hit.
does. Yeah, it really helps actually. And I could I mean, I'll hit you up on Messenger and if I have any questions. But the other thing is I seen some results pretty quick on this. Like within a couple of weeks, I noticed I was eating the same calories, but it was just not as much fat. And I could just like the scale was, I could lose a couple of pounds a week. Nah, maybe not a couple of pounds, but a pound or two a week maybe. During the initial phase, and then it kind of plateaued out. But yeah, definitely you had that dialed in perfectly. So
Awesome, man. Awesome. But you talk us through that as well, right? Because when you're in a deficit, I think, I like to be honest with people, you're going to be hungry, right? At times. Not
yes,
all the time, but you've
yep,
got to make friends with hunger. And people kind of like really struggle with this, right? It's hard,
yep,
let's be honest, because people panic. I'm hungry, I need to eat. And it's like, well, no, that's part of your body basically
right,
utilizing fat for energy, right? Body fat
right,
when you're in
right.
that state. Obviously, there's a fine line between being like hungry and ravenous, though, right? And losing sleep over it because you're in a big deficit. Talk us through that mindset over the 3 months. I know you were moving more. You were having high protein, which is the big thing here, right?
It is. It is
Having enough. So you were averaging over a gram
over
per pound
200.
of body weight, right? When it
Yeah, I
comes to
was
the
away.
protein in the fat
I
loss
think I
phase,
was
you were
at.
over that, way over
Yeah,
that.
I think I was like 225, 235 per.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I was over that because I'm weighing in at like 185 or something at that time. So I was definitely over
yeah.
it. Yeah.
So not far off like 1.5 grams per pound of body weight.
Right.
Yeah, talk us through that, like in terms of like how you felt throughout that process, because you lost a pretty significant amount of fat, to be fair, in a short period of time. 1%, it doesn't sound like much, right? But losing 1% a
Right.
month, give or take on average, bearing in mind that you're actually not overweight, right?
Right.
You're relatively lean anyway. It's
Yep.
actually a good rate, believe it or not. So
Yeah, it is. I had done some 24-hour fasts in the past. I think I've even done maybe 130, maybe I think I might have tried to go for a 36 before. So I had, I'm I have been used to doing I know what hunger feels like, I guess.
yeah,
I've
yeah, that's
never
a bit,
really
mate. I'm glad you said that because that's what fasting taught me as well. What true hunger is.
right, right, exactly. So, a couple of stomach growls, I'll just drink some water and generally within 5 minutes, usually if you drink some water, it'll go away. If you're not really hungry, if it's just your stomach saying, or your whatever mind saying, hey, you need to eat right now. Generally, even now, I'm used to eating breakfast because I'm on the three meals a day program right now. If I miss breakfast, I'll get hungry for a couple of minutes. I'll drink a glass of water or maybe a black coffee, and 10 minutes later, it's gone. So I can make it till noon. Then I'll be fine.
Mm.
So it's just all about, I guess, fill the belly with water, something like that. Maybe some black coffee. I would do like maybe a cup or something. That would be my suggestion with the hunger.
Yeah, love it, man. So on the deficit, right, for the 3 months when we shredded that fat, you were having on average like 3 meals a day then as well, weren't you? Throughout that
Yes.
process. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I've been on the
yeah. Go on.
I've been on the 3 meal a day program now for quite a while. Actually, when I joined the program, I was doing 2 meals a day, and I was trying to do a lot
That's
of
right.
intermittent fasting as well. I forgot to add that in earlier, and that did work okay. But I I'm used to the 3 meals a day now. Part of the reason is I just find that I cannot get enough calories in 2 meals. I'm so stuffed that I'm useless for like 30 minutes. So I just prefer to break it up. I'll have some in the morning and then noon and in the evening. It works better for me from what I do. And if I have to eat 1,800 calories in one sitting and at night, I just get so full that I basically just, and I don't like eating before I go to bed. So I like to eat 3 hours at least before I go to bed.
100%. That's another really important habit, right? So one Lester's talking about as well is this is like high level stuff, right? So you've come a really long way, like the fasting and stuff. I don't actually recommend that to most. I do it now, right? Like I do exactly the same thing.
Right.
I still have 2 meals on average. Sometimes I'll break it with a bit of dark chocolate, you know what I mean, with my espresso in the
Right.
morning. But other than that, it's 2 meals a day. But a lot of people, they haven't built that foundation. They haven't got those fundamentals right with nutrition. Like with yourself, you're eating a bare minimum, like 95% whole foods, single ingredient foods.
Yep.
You know, you even bloody hunt, you know exactly what's going into your body for the most part, right?
Yep.
You also, you know, you do the steps now. That's basically, you've almost cemented that in now, doing over like 10K steps a day. You've cemented in the habit of lifting weights, right? And it's just a compound, like even the sleep thing, right? A lot of people are not, they don't do that. They don't place enough value on how important it is to cut the food off before bedtime.
Yep.
Because they haven't been aware of it as well. I know you used a Whoop before, didn't you?
Yes.
One of those things to track it, and it makes you super aware. Oh, you got it now, haven't you? Of course, yeah, you got it now. Makes you super aware, doesn't it, of what's going on
really
with
does.
recovery. Big time.
Yeah, it really does. And it also, you know, it doesn't yell at you, but if you have, let's just say you go to bed super late, maybe you're out with friends, maybe you have a couple of drinks, it will, I mean, you don't have to use the Whoop, you can use something else, anything, but this thing will let you know that you're not going to have the most productive day. Like your readings will be all over the place.
100%, man, 100%. So, so basically, man, so in terms of, you mentioned about accountability, right? Having accountability helps because you just perform better, don't you, when someone is
Yes.
keeping you accountable. But you're holding yourself accountable as well, which is really important. Having a structure and a plan, right? You mentioned you're a type A. That's actually really important as well, right? Having a plan which is kind of tailor-made for your lifestyle. So you have those non-negotiables to hit despite how busy life gets, right? Because people, they get busy and they lose momentum. You know what I mean? Life's always busy anyway, right?
Yep. You have to incorporate it as part of your lifestyle. That's what I found I had to do. Like it has to be the same as brushing your teeth every day. You just got to fit it in. Like it's like on Mondays, I can't set my first appointment until 10 a.m. because I have to go to the gym and I have to drive an hour to get my first appointment. It is what it is. Like I just redid my schedule to fit it in. It has to happen. Or I got to do it at the end of the day. So I have to keep enough time at the end of my day before I eat to go to the gym. And it's just part of my lifestyle.
Awesome.
And it's the same with my food.
Yep. 100%, man. It's part of your lifestyle now, and that's the way it needs to be.
Right.
So I know we kind of touched on this, but was anything, in case we missed it, that you like? I'm just curious to know, you know, for some feedback. Was anything you liked about the program that maybe you weren't expecting to like?
You put me on the spot here.
I think we've touched on most of it, but just in case you missed anything.
I think we touched on most of it. I guess I was surprised at how available you were to, you know, because I didn't know you. And but it's just, you know, I've never met you in person, but I've talked to you on the phone many, many times. So I like it, or, you know, on WhatsApp or whatever. I could just message you any time of the day. I know you're in a different time zone than I am, but, you know, within 10 hours or whenever you get up the next day, you'll message back. I was surprised about how available that you were to answer questions. And so that was a very, like, a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, having that access, man. And ultimately, that's what people pay for, right? They pay for access to wisdom, expertise. And then on top of that, then you get the accountability and stuff, right? Because if we're honest, people are still getting fatter and sicker with ChatGPT, right? The information, and we've had, you know, information on podcasts for a long time now, and social media. Right. There's no shortage of information. In fact, there's more than ever. But you got to know what and when to, and that's where, you know, a mentor or coach in any area of life, but if we talk about fitness, comes in to help you implement the right things, because people try and change too much at once as well, and they overcomplicate things.
Yep.
You got to take out all the noise and go, okay, let me implement these 1 to 2 habits and cement them in. 1 to 2 more habits, cement them in. It's not rocket science, right? That's what you've done over the last couple of years.
Yeah. Actually, my experience has been if you try to do too many things at once, it's kind of a recipe for disaster. I do like that too. We started out with just dialing in just like some simple macros, increasing some stuff, nothing complex. You didn't ask me to watch my fats or anything. You said, eat whatever you want. For now, I just need you to hit this calorie mark right here, and I need you to do these workouts. So we ramped it up as we went. So yeah, it was a slow, gradually escalating. We didn't do it all in the first 90 days.
100%. Hey, let's touch on carbs before I forget, right? Just to
Yeah.
almost wrap this up. Let's touch on carbs, right? Because again, you're eating carnivore, you're having very low carbs. Now you're having higher carbs than you probably ever had consistently, right?
Right.
Talk us
Right.
through that, like maybe benefits, mindset around carbs, because a lot of people are still really fearful of carbs. I know you're
Yeah.
not, but people need to hear this.
Yeah, I think this was probably when I started eating carbs. That was something I didn't really want to do because I had kind of looked at carbs as like a food that's just kind of waste. And basically, my I guess what I do, I kind of experimented a little bit. I ate some white potatoes for a while. They were okay, and now I'm on the sweet potato kick. I think that they treat me like really well, and rice. That's been my go-to. I've got a couple different brands and flavors of rice I keep around, and I kind of switch in between sweet potatoes, rice. Let me think. I was doing the beans for a while. When I was really, I don't even know if beans are good for you. I honestly don't know. They have a lot of fiber, and they have some other things. I looked them up,
Yeah, what beans are
but
they? I mean, we can't deny the fact that you're going to get a lot of nutritional value from beans when you cook them properly, providing your gut's okay. Which ones are they again that
right.
you having now?
I was actually using different ones, black ones, brown beans. But they allowed me to hit my carb targets and also my fat targets because they have no fat in them. They have some protein, so they increase my protein intake and they increase my carb intake. And if I really needed to, if I didn't have time to make rice or whatever, I would just use the beans. So that was, those are like my main ones. Let's see. I don't really eat any bread. Try not to eat any of the whites, like pizza or anything like that. Maybe once in a great while, but for the most part, that's what my day-to-day carbs are: just sweet potatoes, rice, beans. Trying to think what else. Oh, I keep some fruits around too. Like I'll do some bananas. Like if I need to hit my calories for the day, I'll keep some bananas around or some blueberries, and also honey. I will definitely have some honey. I get honey from the local place that makes it right here. I always think you should consume local honey because that's like all the
100%.
pollen from the local area. So
Definitely.
yeah, definitely. I'll do honey with Greek yogurt, which is like a Greek yogurt, no flavoring in the Greek yogurt, just plain. And I'll drizzle. I'll do like a serving, and I'll drizzle honey over the top of. That's another thing I'll do to increase my carbs.
And talk us through how you hit 225 grams of protein consistently, because that's no problem for you. I know you enjoy eating meat. That's number one, isn't it? But also the protein powder,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, protein powder. I always keep protein powder in my truck. I keep a jug of it in my truck just in case I need protein, rather than
Hmm.
buying that garbage that you can buy that's
Yeah,
like got
it is garbage.
10,000 words on it.
Yeah,
I'll just
exactly.
keep,
All the artificial
yep.
shit.
I just keep a simple thing with a little jug of it, powder, and I put a little thing in there where I can just put it in my water bottle, like a little funnel, collapsible funnel. I'll throw it in there, and I keep that. So yeah, whey protein. I keep it around. I use it when I need to. I don't use a lot of it. Maybe one scoop a day. Maybe some days never. Maybe I go a week or two and don't even use it. If I can hit all my protein targets, I'm good. Generally, and I was up to 270, believe it or not. I was like really high at one point on my
Yeah.
protein, but I would just eat venison, deer venison, which is really really high. I don't know if you've ever looked it up
Yeah, it's
on
super high in
my
protein,
fitness.
super low in
Yeah,
fat, isn't it?
yes, absolutely. So you eat a pound of that in one day, it's insane. And then elk is really high in protein as well, and then lean beef or steak. That's how I would hit it. And then if I needed to, I would supplement with protein powder on top of that. I would just
Yeah.
generally take the protein powder, just mix some berries in it, maybe a little bit of honey, and
Easy,
down the
man,
hatch.
easy. Now, I want to give you credit, man, because something I want to touch on as well is like the next steps for us now. We're looking to get that free testosterone levels up. We're looking to increase B12. So we don't leave anything to chance, right? We do the health checks
Yeah.
and we look at where you're at with your health and your blood markers so we can improve there. Now,
Right.
a problem I see with a lot of men is they take the shortcut too soon to things like HRT. Now, don't get me wrong, some men need it. I get it. And as you get older,
Yep.
maybe into your 50s, 60s, if you need it, right? I get it. But
Yep.
everything we're doing here is like discipline, habits, stuff that you're in control of
Right.
because you don't want to necessarily have to rely on exogenous hormones, right?
Right.
For you to be
Exactly.
healthy unless you really need to. So right now we've
Right.
already made some changes, right? We go, okay, let's look at this. Let's look at, supplements that we can increase. Obviously beef liver, we brought more beef liver in now
Right.
to get more vitamin A, more B12, choline, all those unique nutrients that you get, and even K2 that you get from beef liver. Obviously, vitamin D as well. We've ramped that up a little bit, right? And ashwagandha, which is obviously going to help, buffer your cortisol levels and increase testosterone levels. But more importantly, going back to what we said, these things I mentioned is like secondary, right? Next to sleep, right? Good sleep, going to bed early enough, managing your stress, and being able to de-stress, whether that's breath work or going for walks, whatever that is. So you're doing those practices which monitor those two things, because stress and sleep are the two most important things, right? So yeah, and we're building now as well, right? So just tell us, just to wrap it up, tell us what we're doing now, and then also I was going to ask you one more question before we wrap it up.
Okay. Yeah, so right now I'm doing the 4 days a week. We're building muscle and we're bulking up. And I believe you had told me we're doing a cut coming up in the next couple of months, right? Or something.
That's right. Yeah, because we're doing the next DEXA scan next month, right? So we're going to do a building phase now for 4 weeks, and that's going to help, like we said, increase testosterone, basically drop cortisol levels as well, because when you're in a prolonged deficit, cortisol can be elevated, and even hormones like leptin, which keep you satiated, increase when you bump your calories up. That's the main satiety hormones. All these things happen when you do that. So that's what we're doing now. It's basically a little mini bulk. But I got one more question for you now, right?
Okay.
So what would you say? Let's say you could go back to like a month before you started the program, right, man? Let's just say a couple of years ago. What would you say to yourself about joining the program? Just curious.
I would say join the program. It's going to be the right decision. That's what I would do. And I actually knew that anyway, because in my business and in other parts of my life, I've hired coaches before, and I found that it's kind of like a hack to like exponentially increase your knowledge, because you're hiring somebody that already knows a lot about whatever the information is that you're looking for. So I guess if you can't afford it, then you have to find the information online. But in my case, it was a fit. And so I think it was absolutely the right decision.
Yeah, 100%, man. And the thing is, and I was just saying to you, right, I've invested over 200,000 Aussie dollars in mentors and stuff. And not to say everyone else is going to do that, but what that's done is that 200,000, I only invested it because that was over time from making the money back, like, fivefold. And it's the same with your health. It's an investment. People look at it, they're happy to spend on Uber Eats and eating out and stuff. And it's not to say you're not going to do any of that, right? You're still going to have a bit of a life, vacations. People don't think twice about that. Drop a few grand there, invest in that's a bit expensive. Spending that money on a coach. It's like, well, you're just not valuing the fact that it's a return on investment you get from that. Health, productivity, mental clarity, confidence, all those kind of things, right? So, hey, mate, just on that as well, before I forget, the confidence thing, right? How do you feel about your body now, considering where you were at in terms of your internal body confidence?
Absolutely. A huge difference compared to where I was when I started. Just like being able to flex my abs. I mean, I don't have. I still have a little bit of belly fat to lose. I'm working on it, but definitely makes you feel a lot better. Also, you get comments from your friends and family. They're like, "Oh, somebody's been working out," or there's always something.
Nice, man. Now let's be honest, man. It goes a long way having those compliments. Anyway, obviously, it's not it's not like something that you couldn't necessarily go around looking for. When you get them, boy, it feels great, and it does encourage you and motivate you more. So I'm glad you.
It really does.
Yeah, awesome.
Absolutely.
Awesome stuff, man. Yeah, I got to give you credit, man. You're smashing it, and we're still going from strength to strength, mate. And I got to give you credit, man. You really got stuck in, and the main thing is you've trusted the process, and you've kept chipping away and being consistent, and that's what it's all about, right? But just for the audience as well, what I am offering is a free metabolic assessment. So that's what I now do with new clients. But I'm giving this away for free. It gives you a metabolic score, which basically tells you the best path to take, whether your goal is fat loss, building muscle, metabolic health, or all three of those. So you get a roadmap basically on exactly what to do for your nutrition, training, lifestyle. So I'll put that in the show notes beneath, and I'll also put in there, if anyone is thinking about working with me, just fill out the application form below. There's a few questions in there, and either way, I'm happy to help. Worst case scenario, if I can help you, we'll jump on a call. And if we're not a good fit, I'll give you a game plan on how to crush your 90-day goals. So, hey man, thanks a lot for your time, bro. Really, really enjoyed that, my man. Always good to catch up.
Thank you, Martin. I appreciate you.
Cheers, brother.